gaming project. So in this video, I'll be talking about the Unforged, which is an upcoming rerun banner weapon for the next 2.6 Phase 2 banner for Ayaka's weapons. So I already talked about the Mist Splitter, but this is specifically about the Unforged, so it's not meant specifically to talk about it in the context of certain banners, but it's meant to be a legacy evergreen video for the future as well. So let's get to it. So I will be talking about the Unforged, and I will be comparing it specifically to the Skyward Pride, the Luxurious Sea Lord, and the Akuoumaru, but I will also talk about the other claymores available in the game as well. Okay, so let's get to it. So as you can see with the Unforged, I've placed it on Ito for those of you who have followed me. It's a good weapon. It's a very universal weapon, I will be honest with you, especially if you compare them up with a shielding character such as Zhongli, Diona, or Toma, or even just like a Geo character that can proc those little shielding crystals. Then you can get the shield strength and increase and also attack increase in the passive. It's a good universal weapon with good stats overall, okay? And attack percentage is always universal, okay? So I have nothing against this weapon, but I will say this weapon is definitely not a must-pull weapon ever whenever it comes on any banner, and that's why it's always paired with some other weapon, whereas the other one is always the more desirable one. So I myself got this way back in early Inazuma patch times, let's say like 2.1 or 2.0 around there, maybe even 2.2, I don't remember. But anyway, I had it sitting there, and then when Ito came, I gave it to him instead of giving him the Red Horn Stone Thresher, which then brings me into that topic. I don't have the Red Horn Stone Thresher. I don't have it to display on the screen here, unfortunately. But I will say, and this is just a tangent, but it was relatable because we have Ito here. The Red Horn is a very niche weapon that's only usable technically for Ito and Noelle, because it has a passive that specifically scales off of defense. Now, its main actual stats, though, are actually pretty good for stat stick purposes, but it is not really a weapon that otherwise would be useful for other characters that don't have defense in their kit, okay, or requirements, let's say. So that's why I wouldn't recommend that one, but it does have a really great high 88.2% at 90% at level 90 crit damage, that one. I'm not going to talk about that, and it's not featured on the thumbnail here because it's not really relatable, because this is an attack percentage weapon and it's meant to be universal. So this, again, video is meant to, specifically just talk about it in a more legacy evergreen kind of way for future reference as well. The Red Horn, I previously did do videos of a video of the Unforged versus the Red Horn, so if you're interested, you can check that out specifically. It still holds true, and the Red Horn is likely going to make a rerun appearance once Ito does a rerun appearance in the future patch, so stay tuned for that. Now, let's compare more back to what we were talking about originally. So I previously also compared this to the Luxurious Sea Lord, or also known as the Fish Claymore, which was from one of the events, weapons, and I did a separate video of that already. It still holds true. This is very comparable, as you can see, they're both attack percentage. This one has much lower base attack because it is a 4-star weapon after all, but it has a really good passive, which is elemental burst related, right? And I think overall, this is a really good weapon for those of you who have been in this game and have gotten this weapon from the event. Now, I do know that this is an event-specific weapon, so if those of you who are way newer to this game don't have this, of course, because there are no indications from Hoyoverse that any of the old event weapons will be available again in the future. We don't know that. So with that being said, for those of you who don't have this weapon, then this may mean nothing to you because you can't get it otherwise. So let's just compare this back to something that is in the game but is also limited. So the Akuoumaru, I recently got it up to R4, as you guys may remember from the last patch. I didn't, although some of my viewers and people who watch my streams or my chats have commented and told me to go for the R5, but there's never a guarantee. And the Akuoumaru is an amazing weapon. This is similarly a burst-focused weapon in the passive, as you can see, but it also has an attack percentage focus. So for those of you who were lucky enough or was willing to take that risk to pull on the Akuoumaru, it has appeared twice so far on 2 different banners. So if those of you who are lucky enough to get it, and because I didn't even get it on the first banner run of it because I didn't pull on that banner. No, actually I did pull on the banner, but I didn't get it. But and then anyway, I got R4 on the second one, the recent one, and yeah, it's an amazing weapon. I gave it to Chongyun, as you can see. So compared to the Unforged, it's pretty good, but the Unforged is more universal because it's not specifically limited to your burst, if that makes sense. Okay. But the Akuoumaru, as you can see, is a direct comparison kind of to the Sea Lord because they're both burst related. But yeah, they're both really good weapons if you have those 4-star options as well. So keep that in mind. And if you are considering giving the Unforged to a Claymore character, I will just say, because it is universal, it will do well on Ito, which I have. It will do well on Eula and Diluc if you don't have their signature weapons for them, right? Or if you have 4-star weapons for them, the Unforged would be fine for them as well to replace their 4-star option. It would be fine on Chongyun and also fine on Noelle as well, because Noelle is basically like the 4-star version of Ito. It's also good on Xinyan for those of you who do use her, and it is okay on Beidou. Beidou does suffer from energy recharge issues, so that's why she does need something with energy recharge unless you have really good artifacts that are focused on giving her the good energy recharge substats. So there's that. And also Noelle has that issue as well. I will be honest, I think Ito does have the issue too. Several of the characters have energy recharge issues, so you have to make sure that you address that first, because this does not do anything for energy recharge, the Unforged. Okay, so moving along the list, how does this compare to the Skyward Pride? So this one is not an attack substat, an attack percentage substat, it is an energy recharge one, but it is comparable because this is a Skyward weapon, it is a placeholder, it's one of the universal weapons as well. It's also just an all-around damage increaser as well for the passive, etc. So I would say that it is comparable in that sense because some, like I mentioned just now, many of the Claymore characters actually need energy, so that's why this is also a good viable option in comparison to that. But again, I want to default back to the Unforged is not a must-pull weapon, but if you are lucky or I consider unlucky to get it if you weren't planning to, like myself, I wasn't planning to, it is still a weapon that you can make do with in your for your characters, for any of the characters. At least it's universal in that sense. Okay, so moving along then, we will talk about the other swords now that are more, other Claymore swords that are more specific. So this Song of Broken Pines is a physical damage one. It's specific for Eula, of course, because it's her signature. This will do well on also Diluc and can do well on Ito as well. But basically, yeah, this weapon is meant to be for Eula, I would say. But it's also good. If you have this and you want to use this instead of this, of course, this has its benefits, of course. Wolf's Gravestone is also another attack percentage one. I did not put this in the thumbnail. Because this hasn't rerun in a while, actually. But anyway, this one is also a very universal weapon. If anything, this one is actually better than the Unforged, I want to be honest with you, because the passive is definitely very universal in the sense that you don't need to have a shield on to have the extra damage, whereas this one you kind of do need to have a shield as well. So that's why this is better than this, technically. I would say the Wolf's Gravestone, if you are lucky and you have this, then if you have this already, you don't need the Unforged at all. We've already talked about the Akuoumaru. We've already talked about the Luxurious Sea Lord. So moving along, we have the Black Cliff. This is the crit damage focus one. Any of the Black Cliff weapons are always recommended as good placeholders until you can get better weapons. The passives are always not sustainable and not easy to proc to get the maximum stacks. But I would say this is still a good weapon to have. Of course, it cannot beat the Unforged, but the Unforged is still a pretty good weapon. It's, in my opinion, the Unforged is actually weaker or less desirable compared to the Song of Broken Pines and the Wolf's Gravestone if I had to kind of put them in a list like that. The White Blind is a very specific weapon that's defense. It is good for Noelle and for Ito, and I'll leave it at that. So yeah, but in this case, I've given it to Noelle, as you can see on the screen, and I've given Ito the Unforged. The Prototype Archaic is also a very universal weapon because it also has an attack percentage substat, and it is about normal and charge attacks, etc., and damage. So this is also a very good, viable option for many of the characters in the game. So actually, with the Prototype Archaic, you may not even need the Unforged. But again, I just want to kind of put it out there. The Unforged is more like a Copium Universal 5-star Claymore that you wouldn't necessarily go for specifically, just to be very honest. Sacrificial Greatsword and Favonius, I'll talk about them together. They're very placeholder weapons again. They're universal, they're energy recharge, they're more for the support characters. As you can see, at one point I did have Sacrificial Greatsword on Beidou because I wasn't really using her, but then I also recently got the Skyward Pride a few weeks ago, so I decided to upgrade her to the 5-star version. right? So that's basically what I did there. But otherwise, she was using the sacrificial for a time. The Favonius is really good on Sayu. I already talked about that in my Sayu review back then. I haven't updated her review because I haven't used her since. But yeah, these are very good for certain support characters that need energy and that you don't need them to be on the field too long for any other purpose. These would also, again, be fine for some sub DPS and support DPS characters like Beidou. Unless you want to main her, then you want her on the field more, then you want her, make sure that you get her more damage. So that's why I just upgraded her a little bit to the Skyward Pride. Another energy recharge one is the Katsuragi Kiri Nagamasa, which is the Inazuma craftable. This weapon is also really good for Beidou and for a variety of characters that need the energy. Similarly, this has a passive that has a little bit of a mechanic, let's call it, that you need to use. But otherwise, it's a pretty good weapon overall too. I'll just leave it at that. And then lastly, we have the Snow Tuned Star Silver, which is a craftable, but it's the Dragon Spine one, and it's a physical damage again. This is a very specific weapon. This could do well on, some people do use this on Razor, and some people do use this on Eula, and that's totally fine. Some people also use it on Chongyun. Totally understandable because the passive has a cryo aspect to it. So it could do well there. So that's why they do use it on those characters. I have seen some people try it on Beidou and try it on Xinyan, and it's okay too. So depending on your situation, this could be a universal weapon, but not many people have been crafting this or refining it. I want to be honest with you. I'm only doing it because, I'm doing it for videos, but also we all get one copy of it. Let's put it that way. So that's what this was. The bell is a garbage weapon. It is coming up on the actual weapon banner that will feature the Unforged and the Mistsplitter Reforged coming up on Ayaka's run for the Phase 2 of version 2.6 patch. And the bell is basically a weapon that no Claymore user can fully utilize right now, so I would skip that. The Lithic Blade is another limited series weapon similar to the Akuoumaru. So this has been, I think, featured maybe 2, maybe 3 times now on banners. This is a very specific weapon that's kind of niche. It requires you to have Li Yue characters in the team, but otherwise it's a universal weapon that has attack percentage substat as well. But you do need to make sure that you have at least 3 characters out of your 4 to maximize getting a higher damage boost, and also you do kind of need this to have higher refines to maximize your passive boost as well. So I have it at R3, but I have never leveled this up, and I will keep it until later. But right now, the game is focused on Inazuma characters, although we just launched the Chasm for Li Yue, but the game is focused on the Inazuma characters right now, and moving forward, we're going towards Sumeru already, so I don't know that this has any real benefit to level up for myself in my account right now. Rain Slasher is an elemental mastery weapon. I'll be honest, none of the other characters really can fully utilize this yet. Some people have used this on Beidou, but she's better served with an energy recharge or even attack percentage damaging weapon, or even a physical damaging weapon, for example, because it does have electro there. There are no hydro Claymore users in the game right now, so really this weapon is very niche, but we're keeping it around in case the game later launches with more characters that can utilize it better. So I want to just leave it there and go back to the purpose of this video, which is the Unforged. So as you can see, just to sum this up, there are a variety of other attack percentage and specific focused weapons that can be comparable to this. This weapon is not a must pull in any case, and this weapon is good to have if you have, if you are like me and you were unlucky and you got it by losing the 50-50 on the weapon banner, and you end up having it. Then, of course, if you have it, then you just put it on any of the characters that you really like, and it's just very universal overall. So I just want to keep that there and leave it there. So hopefully you found this informative. This is meant to be a legacy and evergreen kind of video that shouldn't really change too much moving forward, so I just want to make it and put it out there as well in case anyone is wondering. I also did something similar for the Mistsplitter, and I put that out right before this, and I talked about the Ayaka banner and the weapon banner specifically, so do check those out as well if you're interested. Again, I have previously talked about the Unforged versus, the Akuo and versus the Fish Claymore specifically. Those are older videos, but they're still there. And yeah, I've also done it for the Elegy for the End bow recently, and the Haran Gepaku Futsu as well. So those are meant to be more universal and legacy videos as well. And moving forward, I'll continue doing that every time that there's a 5-star weapon that is debuting or rerunning. So I will keep that there, and hopefully you'll check them out and subscribe, hit the like button, thumbs up, leave me any comments in the descriptions, leave me any comments in the comment box below, and feel free to join my Discord server as well if you want to continue the conversation. I will leave it there, and I'll